think it's been roughly 30 seconds since I said that, so I'm going to go ahead and get us started, and hopefully some more people can join us if they're able to. And otherwise, just remember this is being recorded, you guys, so in case you miss anything, you can always go back and listen to this later. But good morning. Welcome to today's FireStride Chat. I hope that everybody's having a good day wherever you're calling in from. Um, Today, we've got some updates that Riley, our fearless leader, is going to share with us. Some things that are top of brain, at least from what I've been paying close attention to in the Stride world, is a lot of the proposals that we've got coming up. The launch of Shade Protocol, the Forge decks that launched this week, and some of the updates to our liquidity incentives. So I'm really excited to hear Riley chat about this in detail with you guys, um, and whatever else is on his mind. Remember that at the end of this call, in the last 10 or so minutes, we'll have time for the audience to ask questions. So you can raise your hand, you can message in the chat, whatever works for you. You know the drill. But Riley, I'm going to pass the mic off to you and respond in the chat as needed.
Cool. Thanks for the intro. I'm one of the contributors to Stride. I work at Stride Labs. I think I'm met just about everyone in the chat at this point. We have a lot of a lot of repeat FireStride chat listeners. Someone gave a salute in the chat. It's the fun reaction. I have some updates for the week. We talk through them pretty casually. Again, these FireStride chats are meant to be very casual. So I'll run through those real quick, and then let's just have a conversation, talk about what's going on, can answer any questions, bring folks up on stage, and take it from there. So a few discussion topics for the week. There's an LSM proposal up on the hub. Zaki put this up. It basically proposes the addition of a set of changes to staking, distribution, and slashing modules on the Cosmos Hub that would enable users who are currently delegated to validators on the hub to tokenize those delegations and make them transferable, such that they can be onboarded onto liquid staking providers without having to wait the 21-day unbonding period. It also proposes two safety features. One is the addition of a global cap to the amount of voting power that could be held by liquid staking providers. The proposed parameter is 25%, so no more than 1/4 of all voting power could ever be held by liquid staking providers. The other proposal is something called a validator bond, which is basically a mechanism by which validators would be required to have some skin in the game. You've all probably heard of the saga around requiring versus not requiring min validator bond amounts on the hub. Currently, most validators self-bond about 0, and there are some worries about whether requiring validator bond, even though it would increase validator skin in the game and align the practical POS implementation on the hub with POS theory, it would maybe cause centralization because the bigger validators are the only ones who could afford to self-bond the minimum. In the case of LSM and the ways in which it enables liquid staking, some of those POS risks could get worse. So to mitigate them, the validator bond was proposed. So there's some active discussion happening on the hub about that. It's currently on the forum, and the code is being reviewed by the SDK team, but it might go to a signaling proposal at some point in the next week. The reception so far seems positive. A few good questions in the comments that are being answered, but I'm curious to hear everyone's thoughts about that. Maybe after I run through the rest of the updates. I see some questions in the chat. I can hit those after I run through the rest of the questions. So next update, Shade protocol launched yesterday. Pretty exciting. They're new concentrated liquidity DEX, and they have a custom curve for their DEX. It's kind of similar to Uniswap v3, kind of similar to Curve v2, but different in some crucial ways. And they're launched on Secret Network. I see some Secret Network fans, Node Fathers in the chat. What's up? So pretty exciting for Secret Network. I see Shade has already hit something like 2.5 million in TVL. And notably, they are a liquid staking DEX. So the base pairs are all ST assets. What does this mean for users? Basically, it means that the rewards for LPing on this DEX will be higher because Shade doesn't have to compensate users for their staking rewards. They can use all their incentives to reward users on top of what the users are already earning through their liquid staked assets. So that's pretty exciting. I'm personally very interested to see how the dynamics play out between existing DEXs like Osmosis, who are not adopting the liquid staking DEX model, or at least haven't so far, and so are paying a ton of incentives kind of to compensate users for what they could be earning through liquid staked assets, versus these new DEXs like Forge and Shade, who are adopting the liquid staked DEX model. So that's a very, very exciting launch, and I think Stride incentives are slotted to start there pretty soon. Piece of tech update, autopilot middleware. I've been posting a little bit on Twitter about what's middleware, what's packet forwarding, how does this help the UX in the Cosmos Hub? And basically, it's a piece of code that Stride is going to add, and is developed already but hasn't been turned on, that allows Stride to execute arbitrary actions when it receives tokens from a different zone. And in Stride's case, well, the common use case that Strangelove built this for is packet forwarding. So if Osmosis receives some tokens from the Cosmos Hub, maybe it wants to forward those on to Juno, or maybe it wants to forward them onto Crescent. And you could use this also for path unwinding with tokens, but I won't get into that here. The use case that Stride is planning to adopt with autopilot and packet forwarding middleware is to automatically allow users to liquid stake. So today, if you liquid stake, you require 3 transactions. One sends the tokens from your zone, like the hub, onto Stride. The next one liquid stakes, and then the third one takes the tokens off of Stride onto maybe Osmosis, where you would LP them. With the packet forwarding middleware and the autopilot module, you would only have to sign 1 transaction on the hub, and you would specify instructions for how Stride should handle those tokens. So you might say, hey, Stride, I would like you to liquid stake these and then send them on to Osmosis, and they should land in my address on Osmosis. And the middleware would handle all those instructions for you. So you'd only sign a single transaction. You start to get to a UX that looks a little bit more like Ethereum. It's a bit more user-friendly. I also put a post up about some of the use cases that this could enable outside of liquid staking. One example is token swaps for community pools. Today, most of the Cosmos community pools are pretty undiversified. They're basically 75% plus native assets. So the Evmos community pools, mostly Evmos, the Osmosis community pools, mostly Osmosis. And as anyone running a business or protocol knows, if everything's denominated in your own token and the price of that token goes down, you're in a tough position. It's hard to meet payroll or pay for operating expenses. So diversification can be helpful in that regard. But given these tokens accrue pretty high staking yield, if you swap them, for example, if Osmosis were to swap Osmo for Evmos and hold Evmos unstaked, they would lose about 85% a year because they're not accruing staking yield. So we had an idea to maybe allow communities to swap using ST tokens. And the autopilot middleware I described can enable this through governance. So it's just an idea at this point, but we'll see if any communities are interested. Forge DEX. They launched this week. They are a concentrated liquidity DEX on Evmos. Pretty exciting. They're modeled as a public good. So I think they have 0 transaction fees. I think some of the Evmos team is behind the DEX, but I'm not actually sure. And they have a big community presence within that ecosystem as well. There's an NFT project behind them as well. There's a proposal up to list ST assets on Forge. I think that one passed. There's another proposal to get some of the community pool involved in LPing some of the ST Evmos pools on Forge as a service to the community so that users could use ST Evmos in DeFi. As most of you know, the Evmos yield is quite high. So DeFi has been a bit handicapped on Evmos because of the hurdle rate problem where users would prefer to stake than use their Evmos in DeFi. So if there were a very deep ST Evmos pool on Forge, then users could just use ST Evmos and liquidations could be processed into that pool pretty efficiently. And concentrated liquidity is a big step up over constant product pools and even in some instances over stable swap pools. So it can process these liquidations very, very efficiently. I think the proposal is asking for 1 or 2 million Evmos. So that would be enough to absorb a large number of liquidations. Another update, we put out a blog post, or I think a tweet came from the Stride account that talks about a new chapter in the history of Stride. And it's a change to the liquidity incentive program, whereby those incentives are being reduced to make Stride more sustainable. And I'll just link to it. I won't walk through the whole thing here, but Summer put it in the chat. Thank you, Summer. Basically, it's a move towards sustainability, and seems like the right step forward for now. Summer, am I missing any updates?
I think unless you are interested in chatting about the ICS prop to validators, or if there's anything else on your mind that I did not cover in our agenda, then I think we're good.
Oh yeah, the ICS prop. Good point. There's an ICS prop coming very soon, so keep an eye on the forum. And if you're a validator, keep an eye on the validator chat. I think there'll probably be some discussion in there about it. And of course, anything ICS related needs to be a mutual decision that's agreed upon by both Stride governance and Hub governance. So we would like there to be a lot of active discussion, and ultimately this all comes down to the community and what you decide to do. So please keep an eye out and get involved. And I think there are some Twitter spaces being planned as well with Informal and with Stride and with some of the Cosmos Hub accounts to talk this through. So there'll be a lot of discussion in the next few weeks about that.
Awesome. Thanks, Riley. I appreciate that overview of everything that we've got going on in Stride World right now. And I'm sure that our audience has some thoughts on what we've chatted about. So guys, feel free. Now is a great time. If you have questions, drop them in the chat or raise your hand. We've still got almost 15 minutes left. So we'd love to talk to you about anything left on your brain. Just for a quick recap, we talked a little bit about the liquid staking module proposal, the launch of Shade Protocol and the STRD incentives, having all base pairs be ST assets, which is really cool. We talked about the autopilot middleware, just an idea right now, like it'll be added, but it's still in the works. the Forge decks, and yeah, just some basic updates to our liquidity incentives program. So, in case you forgot.
Nice. Looking through the chat to see if there are questions. Someone is Notefather's asking about the liquidity staking module and the validator bond stuff. Yeah, it's covered in a ton of detail in the proposal. So I see OPA link to it. So take a look at that. There's a pretty good FAQ section in that prop too. Hopefully it covers any questions. Seeking Heals asking about Ledger on Evmos. Coming soon. Adding Ledger support. I don't know if it was the Ledger team or the Cosmos SDK that messed this up, but adding Ledger support to Cosmos SDK chains, it can be, especially if the chain has an Ethermint on it or has Cosmosm on top, can be a real pain in the ass. So that's a work in progress. Hopefully within the week. Lunk Sneedpilled asked, why no support for Terra, the OG Terra chain? We haven't considered it yet. It's a good question. Maybe we'll look into that. I'm not that familiar. I haven't been tracking them since the DPEG. We'll take a look. But we'll remind you also that the listing process for new chains is pretty community driven. The chain that wants to be onboarded opens a pull request and goes through the process themselves. So if you're part of that community and want to be onboarded, please take a stab at it or reach out to us and we can point you to the process. When auth-z? Good question. Auth-z has some conflicts with various upgrades that we've done. For example, some of the ICS support stuff that we're doing conflicts with auth-z. So we're working on it. It's I can't really give you a date for auth-z, but it is coming. Sneedpilled also asked how to get more Osmosis stakers to use ST-Osmo, and also asking about support for other chains. So yeah, support for other chains, again, kind of permissionless process. The chain, if you know of a chain that wants to get onboarded, and you're developer oriented, you can take a stab at adding it. And if you're not developer oriented, maybe find someone in that community who wants to lead the charge, and we can chat with them and get it started. As for Osmosis stakers using ST-Osmo, there's a little bit more usage now, and it's being listed on more venues. I think it's supported on Umi, supported on Mars as of pretty recently. Might be also supported in Mars vaults now. So usage is increasing, but part of increasing adoption and usage of an LST for a particular token and ecosystem is support and buy-in from that ecosystem. So if you're part of the Osmosis community and you want to see more ST-Osmo usage, I would encourage you to just be vocal within that community and also let us know which use cases you'd want to see and put those up to governance. Part of integrating ST-Osmo and making it useful is listing it on all these dexes and lending markets and using it as collateral for stablecoins and collateral for options and perps, of which there are many protocols coming to market at some point on top of Osmosis, so that could be a good fit. Opa is asking about which tokens are next. And Moon says a good suggestion. Yeah, take a look at GitHub. All the alpha is always on GitHub. Anytime a token is being onboarded, there's a pull request on the Stride GitHub ahead of time. So if you keep your eye on there, you'll see what's coming. I think there's an open PR for Umi right now, and for Comdex, and maybe a few others. Let's see. us. It'd be fun to
Right.
get someone up here to ask a question live. Otherwise, we can keep reading. Oh, I think someone's raising a hand.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I'm inviting you to speak right now. And Riley, just so you know, I'm logging the questions that we haven't gotten to in our shared agenda. So I just copied them there in case you need to see them.
Nice, cool, that's great.
Here- Hey, Summer Riley. Hello,
Hey,
everyone. My name's Luis Cava. We're are affiliated from Stride and other chains. Um, Glad to be here. Just wanted to ask, with so much usage growing on new chains onboarding, I think it's more important than ever to get the delegation program going like you did on Atom. So I don't know if there's any plans, or do you need support, or more people? We could maybe create a working group to help with that. Uh, I don't know. Just
that's
wanted
an
to ask.
awesome question. That's an awesome question. Yeah, I think the expected date for the next council is coming up soon, and the first time it was run, and just to remind folks in the audience, the council is Stride's method for choosing validators on the blockchains for which it issues liquid staking derivatives. This process was run for the Cosmos Hub, whereby validators applied, their applications were reviewed by an independent third party council of members who were voted onto the council and who are aligned with the Cosmos Hub. They reviewed the validator applications and then put a set of weights and validators up for governance vote, and which was then ratified as the host zone validator set with the proposed weights. This process, Luis, I think you're suggesting that we should run this with all the host chains. Um,
Or at least as they are growing. Like maybe if it's just started, it's not worth doing it.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. So the long term vision with Stride's liquid staking tokens is that this process would be run by every zone. So they would have representatives who would help screen validators for various measures of decentralization and security, and they would put up a proposal for their chain's validators, and the governance would vote through that set. Um, and the plan is to do this again with the Cosmos Hub pretty soon, as well as with Osmosis and maybe one or two other chains. And as you mentioned, the newer chains, it's a little bit harder to do the process because there's some overhead in like electing council and soliciting validator applications and reviewing. But it'd be great to get more folks involved in that. Part of the burden is operational, and we're thinking about maybe putting up a proposal for some community funding to hire someone to run this process and oversee it. But the short answer is that the next round is coming up pretty soon. And if you're interested in getting involved, please DM us. We'd love some support.
for sure, I'll DM you guys. Thank you.
Nice. That's awesome. Thanks for throwing your hat in the ring. Someone mentioned a Stride dashboard. SQ mentioned a Stride dashboard. So this is some alpha maybe for folks on the call. We haven't announced it yet, but there's a well, we've talked about it, but we haven't fully announced it. There's a dashboard that's going to go up on info.stride.zone. I think there might actually be something up there right now. It's not fully done, and it only shows some of the chains that are supported, but you can get a little preview of it. And I think it's going to be fully released in the next week. And it's pretty similar to info.osmosis.zone. Just shows TVL and like some average statistics, and it has a little chart that shows how Atom and ST Osmo appreciate through time. Various other metrics to help folks understand how the protocol works. Good eye finding that. I think your question was You said you distributed 1 million in rewards. Does that mean the protocol had $110,000 of income? Great question. So the number of rewards distributed on that dashboard display the number of staking rewards earned by folks who hold ST tokens, and the protocol charges a 10% fee on those. So yeah, I think you're right. If the dashboard's showing 1.1 million in rewards, then the protocol would have earned 110,000. I don't have the numbers on the tip of my head, but the math checks out. The best place to see the fees and like rewards paid out to stakers is actually DeFi Llama. So I can toss a link in the chat right now. It has a bunch of different metrics. The breakdown by token. It has inflows each day. It has fees. Everything you might want to see. So you can get the real numbers there. I wouldn't rely on FireStride Zone quite yet because it's kind of a beta version. We just pushed it to prod, so we can get some feedback. But in the next week, it'll be more reliable.
Riley, I want to point out we got someone on stage.
Hey.
With Pickaxe.
Hey guys.
So let's take their question and then we can keep going with some other ones if we've got the time still.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for bringing me up. I wanted to mention before I ask my question that if you guys are interested, I have a pretty in-depth UX designed for a front-end dashboard. I actually mentioned this in the general chat, but like a lot of detail within on-chain analytics platform. Pretty much ready. It just needs APIs. So if like I'm a huge Stride holder now, so I'd love to just pass whatever you're interested in off to you guys, or if you're interested at all. So that's just an aside. But I wanted to ask a question about, like I mentioned in the chat. I'm a little bit newer to the liquidity staking rabbit hole, and you mentioned something about like Osmosis being apprehensive to integrate the LSM, and how, like, what is the reason for that, and what is there some solutions in mind to getting over that hurdle, or I don't even know if I got that right, but yeah.
Yeah, good question. So first of all, dashboard sounds really cool. Would love to take a look, and if you need API endpoints to hit in order to fill in some of the missing data, we can point you to some public ones, or even some of the ones that we host as the Stride Labs entity, not Stride Protocol. So
Awesome.
Feel free to DM me or somewhere. We can hook you up. Thanks for building that. It's very cool. As for Osmosis, they're not apprehensive about the liquid staking module. I'm not sure if they discussed that yet, but that is a piece of technology that would ideally eventually be added to every Cosmos chain, if that chain would like its users to be able to liquid stake without waiting the unbonding period. The discussion right now is around adding that to the Cosmos Hub chain, but there might be a discussion about adding it to Osmosis as well at some point. Osmosis has been a little bit hesitant in the past to actively endorse liquid staking. We had a nice Twitter Spaces discussion with one of the co-founders of Osmosis Labs, Dave, and as well as Sunny, about this. And Dave's apprehensions mainly stemmed from concerns about what might happen if liquid staking derivatives were listed on lending markets and a lot of leverage were to build up. Would encourage you to take a listen to that. It's a pretty interesting discussion, and there's a lot of kind of nuanced points on what that risk might look like and what are the various scenarios. There's also some good detail on what the risks of liquid staking could be in the liquid staking module forum post that's linked in the chat. Zaki lays them out quite well. He understands these concepts very well, and kind of lays out both sides of of the arguments. So if you're looking to learn about those, that's a good resource as well.
Awesome. Thank you. And where could I find that discussion?
The written discussion is in the link
Oh,
I
is it
just put.
written
Yeah, well,
with Sunny?
yeah, well, Sonny's is verbal. Let me see if I can find it. It's in a Twitter Spaces that we held with Osmosis maybe a month or two back. I can take a look to see if I can find it. The best search terms would be Osmosis, Liquid Staking, Stride, Twitter Spaces, or something like
Cool.
that.
Yeah. No worries. I'll definitely find it. Thank you. Thank you for all the answers.
Yeah. Nice to meet you. Welcome. Hope to see you in another one of these. And the dashboard sounds very cool. I look forward to checking it out.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right, so just a quick time check. It's a little past 9:30. So Riley, I'm gonna leave it up to you. We've got a couple questions unanswered. Do you want to answer them now, or do we want to write responses and then post them in a summary after the fact? What's your timeline looking like?
Let's hit them rapid fire.
Cool.
So
They're
see,
highlighted in yellow
oh,
in
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, they're highlighted in yellow in our document. I just
Oh,
copied them over
nice.
already.
Oh, Summer, you are on top of it. Well, while I'm pulling that up, see, Luis, you mentioned that the Mars caps are terrible. Yeah, they're pretty low. So Mars has a particular view on risk. They want to be extremely conservative, and they have this very elaborate risk framework. We're actually doing a lot of custom work to even be on there at all regarding oracles and depth of the osmosis pools. So we're hopeful that those caps will be raised through time. It's our view as Stride Labs as contributors, not as the protocol. It's our view that the caps probably could be a little bit higher, given the pool is quite deep at this point. But it's a work in progress. And if you want to see higher caps, I really would encourage you to like join in on governance, and you can even put up a proposal to raise them. They've been fairly receptive to that, especially any analysis around how many liquidations a ST atom pool could support for various LTV ratios on the lending market and various depths is always helpful. They seem pretty receptive to that stuff. Other questions? Planned partnerships with Barachain or Canto? Good questions. We have not spoken with either team yet, but we should do that. If anyone knows Barachain or Canto, folks, let us know. I'm a big fan of the Ooga Booga meme from Barachain, so hopefully we can get something going there. And then the last question, which is a big can of worms, and will be discussed at length in the next few weeks, is whether Stride's converting to the consumer chain to be a consumer chain. Will they no longer need validators? What happens to the validators? Will we use hub validators instead? A proposal is going up soon that will discuss all of this, and I think we'll answer all these questions and much more. So if you keep your eye on the Stride Commonwealth and on the Cosmos Hub Commonwealth or the Cosmos Hub forum, I would bet maybe today or tomorrow you'll see something out there that answers all these questions. So I'll just wait to answer. I think the proposal will handle most of it.
Cool. All right, guys. Riley, I think you covered it all. How you feeling?
Good.
Cool.
Yeah, I love these kind of more informal chats. The Twitter Spaces are like somewhat informal, but you still have like a big audience of random folks. It's nice to just talk with the community directly.
Totally. Yeah, it's nice to have like the layer of like, okay, you already joined our Discord server, so you like have some you have some context already to like ensure that you know what's going on. You know what I mean? Like it's nice to have that core group. But
Yeah, the questions are better too because everyone here already understands the protocol and we can go a little bit deeper. So that's
yeah,
always fun.
a little less when airdrop. Um,
Yeah.
all right, guys. Well, we'll let you all go, but thank you for being here today. We hope you come back next week, and we'll release a summary of this meeting very soon. But yeah, thank you, Riley. Thank you, Moons, for always being so supportive, and to everyone else for being here. Bye, you guys.
Ciao.